Hi, everyone. I'm Barb Alvarez with Church by the Sea. Thank you so much for being here at our very first Self-Care Lunch and Learn Friday. Stay tuned because we're going to have these for a few more Fridays, and we'd love to see you at each one. Our very first one today is being kicked off by Christina Pearce, a guided meditation expert, mindset coach, public speaker who is dedicated to spreading wellness to her whole community. At the moment, she is the director for wellness at the Center for Social Change, and she has a bunch of certifications. I'll let her tell you a little bit more about herself in the areas of mindfulness, meditation, yoga, and the science of happiness. Help me welcome Christina. Yay!
Thank you, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. And thank you so much, Barbara, Church by the Sea, also for having me here today. We're going to talk about some awesome science-based ways to make your life happier. And during these times, it's important to have these types of conversations, and we'll go into more of this. And I'm going to share my screen with you all. So my name is Christina Pearce, obviously, and I have had the journey of finding my own happiness. I used to work in sales and marketing, working with TV directors and advertising agencies, and I had a very highly stressed job, which I won't go into all the details, but eventually led me to asking some deeper questions about myself and about, investing in myself. I literally was walking down the street one day and heard a voice say to me, invest in yourself. And that voice felt like it was a real voice, but might have been in my head, my imagination, but it kept coming back. And so I started to ponder a deeper question about what investing in myself really looks like. I thought at first it meant property. And then I realized as I started to ask the question a little more and more and started to go deeper into my own meditation with it, that it actually meant something much deeper. And it led me on this journey to becoming a teacher, to teach yoga, to teach meditation, and then to join the Happiness Studies Academy, where I studied the science of happiness, and I'm happy to share some of the things that I learned along the way with you today. So, why should we talk about happiness in these challenging times? This is a question that often comes up. And it's a good question because it seems like a very strange topic. Not strange, but it seems like inappropriate when we're dealing with illness, we're dealing with death, we're dealing with conversations around diversity and racism. And it is true that there's a lot of people who are suffering right now, and there are lots of people who are trying to figure out how to make ends meet in these challenging times. And it is a broader question to really look at what it means to be happy and what it means to take on the world right now. But I will say to you that I think that in these times where we are facing so much so many different opinions and so many different personal struggles that people are having, that it's also a great opportunity to ask the question about happiness, to ask yourself, to go within yourself and just take a moment to ask that same question. Why did I hear the voice of invest in yourself? And why did what that did for me, what that shifted for me when it just kind of interjected in my routine daily life. And in a way, we all have shifted our routine daily life to a new way of doing things. And so it is the perfect time in my books to ask the question about what it means to be happy. So the other thing is that because we're human beings and we have so many different types of emotions, we know, and I know, just going through my mindfulness meditation training, one of the most beautiful things that I learned was how to understand how my emotions were fleeting. They are moment to moment experiences. They're not always the same. So just because we are going through difficult times doesn't mean that we don't have moments of happiness. And just because you are at the pinnacle of success and you're very happy in your life doesn't mean that you're going to have moments of sadness. You could be devastated in one moment, and your child could walk up to you and say the funniest thing and make you laugh. So we are, as human beings, we are just multifaceted. And so we want to be able to come from a place of whole beingness where we can accept and understand the multi-layered experience of being here day to day. There are times where we're frustrated, there are times where we're happy, but we can always ask the deeper question, what makes me happy? This is part of what it means to be human, and this is part of what is so beautiful about being human, is that we have this palette, like colors in a paint, tray of possibilities that we each day can experience, and it can be expressed in so many different ways, but it actually ultimately speaks to the fact that we are all human and we all experience them. It's what connects us to each other, knowing that we have this full range of possibility and emotion. So cultivating happiness practices, the reason why we'd even talk about this during times of COVID and times of struggle is that it just simply feels better to feel better. And we know that it feels better to feel better. So we want to be able to encourage people to feel better. To be very simple, it just feels better to feel better. It's in our nature to seek happiness. Now, this is an evolutionary truth that we are here today because of social connections, because of our pursuit to find more comfort for ourselves, to find ways to enjoy aspects of our lives through looking at nature, through awe-inspired moments. And this is it actually helps us to live. It helps us to survive. So it's our nature to seek happiness. It's not an unusual thing for us to normally do, even when we're in the midst of deep and dark pain. It is more relevant now more than ever. I mean, we've had many philosophers, Aristotle, Plato, many, even up to Helen Keller, speaking on this beautiful topic of happiness, and have contemplated, what does it mean to be happy? What does it mean to be in pursuit of that happiness? And what does it mean to truly understand how to have joy in the present moment experience? It is accessible to everyone. So everyone can cultivate happiness practices. It doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to have a relationship. You don't have to have, a number of different things to make you happy. You can cultivate happiness practices in the here and now. And this is why we need to talk about it as a thing that you can access anytime you need to. It is grounded in science. So this is the beautiful thing also of why it's so relevant right now, is because we've had thousands, there are thousands and thousands of studies out there on the science of happiness. And, when it comes down to it, it's not that complicated. Some of the things that we are naturally drawn to, that we know actually make us happier, are backed by science. And so we can get into all of that, but at the end of the day, we know for sure that science has proven, and we'll go into more of that it just makes sense to cultivate happiness. And now it's not a theory, it's not, fluffy talk about being happy is actually supported by science. And it's good for your health. So it's boosting your immune system. We know that it helps for mental health and overall well-being. So Aristotle, since I brought him up, he was definitely someone who contemplated these questions and talked about happiness a lot. He said the happiness is the meaning and purpose of life, the whole aim and end to, oh, I can't even see my own, I'm sorry, hold on, to human existence. So this is why we're here, folks. This is at the heart of it. This is I totally feel that is the compass that is within us, that we are always sort of leaning toward, trying to find our purpose and our meaning through the means of really looking into what is happiness, what brings us joy, what brings us to a place of meaning in our lives. Why do we even go through all the struggles that we go through? I feel that this is really speaks to our own personal internal compass that leads us toward living a more satisfying and fulfilled life. Is happiness selfish? So somebody asked me that, and I thought that would be a good question to add to this, because this is, again, another science-based, truth about this is that it actually, when we are happy, it helps other people become happy. So even though we think happiness, pursuing our own sort of sense of happiness and joy within our own life, cultivating happiness within our own life is all about us, it really is truly not. We are more likely to affect people in a positive way when we take care of our own happiness. And there's a lot of science that proves that the effects of happiness and the effects of just feeling and connecting with our own joy actually has more benefit to the people around us. It makes us happy to make other people happy. And I love this quote from Helen Keller: true happiness is not attained through self-gratification. So there is a distinction. It is not attained through self-gratification, but through fidelity to a worthy purpose. So it is not about just finding those temporary things that are gratifying. This is why people have such a bad sort of happiness. The word has a bad rap. It's just this idea that happiness is all about gratifying the self, and that is not truly the essence of true joy and finding a worthy purpose. So I like this quote. I wanted to add that. So when in the Happiness Studies Academy has broken down the 5 elements of happiness. And what I want to do with you guys today is I want to go through each of these 5 elements, and I want you to just give yourself a rating from 1 to 5 as we go through this. And I want you to just base it on the last week. So just looking back at the last week, we're going to go through each of these, and you can just jot down anywhere on your phone or right next to you. You're going to give yourself a rating from 1 to 5. So starting with spiritual well-being. So spiritual well-being is about things like prayer, meditation, devotional practices, or even just connecting to your purpose. Asking the deeper questions or connecting to the deeper sense of purpose that you feel to why you're here. So sometimes, connecting to purpose could look like you just spending time in meditation, or you spending time in prayer, or you spending time just connecting. And sometimes if you're not a super religious person, it just looks like serving the lady down the block and making sure that you're going over and bringing her groceries. So spiritual well-being is how you connect to something grander than yourself, that gives you some meaning and some purpose. But also things like mindfulness and meditation is connected in that as well. So just, this is not a quiz. This is not about, who's got the better score. This is just you evaluating, looking back at your past week. And I want to, keep it contained to just the past week. On a scale of 1 to 5, give yourself a rating, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. Physical well-being. So physical well-being includes things like exercise, rest, eating nutritious foods. So just looking back at your last week, and again, don't, if you didn't exercise, but you rested and you listened to your body and your body told you to rest a little bit more, then that I would give, rate it yourself, but rate it fairly. Don't, say, oh, well, I had those tacos last night, so I guess that's not a good thing. So just looking at the past week, give yourself a rating from 1 to 5. Intellectual well-being. Yes, intellectual well-being is a very important element of happiness. And a lot of people ignore this, but this is true, that we actually are happier when we are being intellectually stimulated. So there are things like reading books, learning something brand new, learning something that we're excited to learning something that we've been curious about, learning something, maybe it even has to do with travel or being in a new culture, in a new experience that you knew nothing about, that now you had an opportunity. So give yourself a rating from 1 to 5 on your intellectual well-being for the past week. And then relational well-being. This has to do with intimacy. This has to do with community. This has to do with how well we connect with others. And I know that we're so-called social distancing right now, which I think that term is it's more important to look at it as physical distancing, because social distancing is not actually very healthy for us. Social distancing, the term actually is a little off, because it seems to us from that term that we shouldn't be connecting. But as we are doing right now, connecting, even if we're using it through Zoom, is a very important part of our survival. So looking at relational well-being, just looking back at the past week, on how you connected with others, how you connected in community, and give yourself a rating on that. And then emotional well-being. So this has to do with gratitude. It has to do with acceptance and compassion. And it has to do with expression. So expressing yourself. Did you have time to express yourself emotionally? Did you take time to look at things in your life and just say, I'm really grateful for this person. I'm really thankful for this person. So give yourself a rating from 1 to 5. Okay. Now, it's important for me to point out before I go on that you don't have to have all of these like done in order for you to finally say, oh, I'm happy. You could actually focus on one thing. Let's say it's physical well-being. Physical well-being, if you're exercising, you're resting, and you're eating well, it's going to affect your intellectual well-being, your emotional well-being, and vice versa. Relational well-being, so maybe you've had time to get your hugs in with people, or FaceTime with people, or get on the phone. It actually supports your physical well-being and your spiritual well-being. So they're all interconnected. So it's not about, and I'm going to go into these 2 very important points that I want everyone to get from this talk today next. But it's not about trying to get 5s in every area. It's almost impossible for all of us to do. There's always going to be an area where we're not as strong in, or we would like more. But some certain things that we invest our time and energy and even intellectual well-being. You could be reading some books that are really actually helping you with your relational well-being or your spiritual well-being. So they are all interconnected. It's just a way to kind of break down happiness and look at it more as parts of a rainbow rather than, if the sun is hitting you, it's a lot to take in all at once. We can't look directly at the sun, but we can look at the rainbow. And that's a beautiful way to kind of look at these SPIRE elements. The acronym for this is SPIRE, to understand that one path can actually lead and influence all the other paths. So I want to introduce this term Kaizen, which is a Japanese term for improvement. And what I really like about this is just that the idea of improvement is that it's so let me share a story with you. The LA Lakers in 1986 lost the championship, and they had Pat Riley had joined them as their coach and wanted to improve. They had the mission to beat the Boston Celtics and really was concerned about how to improve the game of all the players of the team. And so, what he decided to do, and it's a perfect connection to this concept of Kaizen, what he decided to do is that he wanted all of the players to improve their game in 5 areas of their basketball game. And he decided instead of really like trying to focus on the star team players, he wanted to focus on the entire group of players and improve their game by 1%. 1%. Okay. So that might have included speed, agility, jump shots, whatever they were, that he wanted each of those 5 elements to be improved by 1% for all the team. And what's beautiful about this idea is that just by improving 1%, he upped the game of the entire team. And the following year, when they played the Boston Celtics, they won the championship. And so the concept behind this idea of Kaizen is to make incremental changes that are seemingly trivial and small, but actually over time with continuous effort actually improved tremendously aspects in our lives. So just the idea that changing for the better in a very simple, microscopic way, just small, changes to make that big changes. So this is the first concept that I want everyone to walk away with that I have found has tremendously changed my life. Little wins make big shifts. So these are some of my own that I want to share with you today. But I didn't do all of these. I focused on 3, and then I included a few more. So take 4 deep breaths each morning and evening. I set a reminder on my phone to remind me to take a deep breath, 4 deep breaths in the morning and 4 deep breaths in the evening. So now I have taken 8 deep conscious breaths a day, and that has definitely improved my levels of serotonin. It's improved my ability to mentally. I can't believe it. And I was going to say something else about the deep breaths that just slipped my mind, but I'll come back to that. This is a great one. I love this one. Play one song every day that gets you inspired, and stick with that one song. Pick a song that gets you started. If it's to help you start your workout, I play it before I even work out. If it's to get you to sit down and work, if it's to get you, just play that one song, because music has a tremendous, amazing effect on shifting our moods. And I'm sure all of you have had that experience of being in a bad mood and then all of a sudden hearing your song and it completely shifted your mental state. Practice your favorite hobby 15 minutes a day or even less than 15 minutes a day. So if you're learning a new language, if you are playing guitar, don't overwhelm yourself with, I'm going to practice an hour a day. Take that concept away for now, okay? Again, science has proven that these small changes are so much less threatening and they're easier for us to actually stay consistent with. Jog on the spot for 5 minutes a day. I just started this one because I'm not really into running, but I do like the cardio, and I can do 5 minutes. That's what I can do a day, just in terms of jogging. So give someone a heartfelt hug each day. This is these are just real simple things that you can do that cover the area, the spire uh, elements, and get you to try something new. So, okay, before we get into gratitude, I want each of you to write down one thing, or even if you don't write it down, just think of it for yourself. One thing that you would like to use the Kaizen philosophy with in your life that you can commit to, that is small, but it's something that you can do every day. It doesn't have to be every day, too. It can be, but of course, the more regular that you do it, the better it would be. So just thinking of one thing that works for you that you can commit to make that change. Now, gratitude is a whole study within itself. Again, tons of scientific research out there about gratitude. But the most important thing I wanted you to know about it was that getting specific is the key. So if it is about you focusing on, okay, what am I grateful for? Well, I'm grateful for my dad. I'm grateful for the ocean. I'm grateful for trees. You know, that's one thing. But to get more specific and say, what is it about my dad that I'm grateful for? He's always there for me when I call him. He's always excited to talk to me. I mean, there's never a time that he's not excited to talk to me. Um, he's, if the more I go into what I'm grateful for, what about it makes me grateful, then the more you access that, because gratitude releases oxytocin, and it is so helpful for us to really drop into our heart space and really utilize the benefits of gratitude every day by getting specific. So if there's nothing else that you do, take some time every day and get specific about why you are grateful for the thing that you are grateful for. Appreciation. When you appreciate the good appreciates. This is actually, I should have put below this, Tal Ben Shahar is the one who said this. And I love it because it really speaks to the idea that there are two meanings to the word appreciation. One is to appreciate, to adore something. And the other is that appreciation actually ups the value of things. So not only are you adoring something, you're actually adding to the value of it, which actually adds to the value of our experience. It helps us in so many different ways. So taking time to appreciate one another is a really important part of what we need to do in these difficult times, because we have enough things to be happy about. We have enough things to feel really, truly, we can take the time to appreciate them. So appreciate the good, and the good will appreciate.
Christina, This is Barb, and I just wanted to make sure that you're checking your time because we definitely want to have a few minutes to ask you some questions at the end of our talk.
Barb, thank you for saying that. Okay, and I think we're at the close to the end. Happiness research studies. We know that it strengthens the heart, cardiovascular system. There's a ton of evidence that shows that even just cultivating simple practices like what I said to you today with the concept of Kaizen, of like simple 5 minute incremental ways that we can improve our happy, that we can cultivate happiness on a daily basis, has been proven to do all of these wonderful things. Improves our immune function. We know that that's an important thing right here today, right now, with all that we're dealing with. It combats stress and makes us more resilient, for sure. Happy people have fewer aches and pains. There's also a lot of research on happiness and inflammation, which is really actually pretty fascinating. That, you know, it's just fascinating. It supports our healthy self-esteem. We're more confident when we're happy. We actually show up completely different when we are grounded in cultivating happiness practices, and it lengthens our lives. So I just wanted to share some books with you. I can actually copy and paste this and put it in the chat. Some videos, and the courses that I took was the Happiness Studies Academy, Positive Psychology. If you go to the Positive Psychology website, there's a lot of really good information about happiness and how it affects us. And there's so many things that, you know, there's so many really interesting studies that you can read about that are quite fascinating. So I'm going to stop the share now. And now I think I can see if there are any questions.
Yes, I'd like to say to the participants, guys, if you want, you can put your questions in that little Q&A box, and feel free to ask questions to Christina and for the rest of the panelists, or anyone if you want to interject and share a thought, or
yeah, and
now is the time.
Yes, and I do want a little bit of time to go into a practice with you, a meditative practice as well, that I think is a powerful way to access that happiness, if we have a few minutes to do that as well. So I'll first look and see if there's any particular questions that I can answer.
Barbara, I can't, am I supposed to be able to type in that? Because it doesn't work.
Well, how about you ask your question out loud, because we can hear you.
Well, okay. Hi, Christina. Thank you so much. So there were a couple of things that I was thinking about. Greek philosophy in many ways has influenced Christian thought, and vice versa, maybe. But I think that I think about a couple of things. One was that I think when you talk about purpose, you know, this idea of finding meaning and purpose is part of our tradition as well, and a lot of religious traditions. What I find really challenging is that, and what's difficult even to lead people right now, is that they want to do things. And this is a very difficult time to do things. And so I don't know if you've come up against this and you have some suggestions, but I know that in that trying to find purpose, it's pretty challenging when the ways you used to do that might be to feed those that are hungry, or to go to a soup kitchen, or to whatever it is, and all that has been taken away. And so it's quite challenging. So I guess that's my first question.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are facing that question, actually, on many levels, because like I said before, that we are in sort of a routine way of doing things right now. Oh, I'm sorry. We are breaking a routine of the way that we used to do things. And it is putting us in this very complex position where we're trying to hold on to the way we used to do things, and we're also trying to create a new way of connecting with one another and doing the work that we do. Our careers are shifting. So it is challenging. So I'm not going to say that that it's not going to be a challenge. But what I would say is that it's also such a lovely opportunity to really ask yourself the question about the purpose that you thought that you had, and ask yourself, well, how can I be even more of service? Let's say, just taking for example, the idea of going to the soup kitchen, like how can I actually give more in a way that feels like I'm called to support these people. And I think it's fair to most importantly recognize that asking the questions to ourselves, like I started with in the very beginning, of like, why did I hear this idea of investing in yourself? I didn't understand it until I gave myself some time to contemplate what that actually means. And contemplation is where, and I believe I'm coming back to talk about meditation and mindfulness, giving ourselves the space to contemplate. This is the interesting thing about suffering, is that it actually does give us an opportunity to ask those deeper questions that we may have ignored if we weren't in those particular predicaments. And I don't think that our compass, our internal compass, changes because we're going through a difficult time. I think our internal compass is always leaning us toward the path of what brings joy and happiness all the time. So that might change in terms of the dynamics around us, but it will never change what is being spoken to us within our spirit of what is the direction that will bring more happiness. And getting what we want is not necessarily happiness. That's not the idea, like this idea of like, you can manifest whatever you want. Because a lot of times, getting what you want is not going to bring you happiness. A lot of times not getting what you want actually brings you the happiness that you know what I mean? So it's an interesting question. And I think you're right. Our idea of understanding our purpose is always slightly shifting. But I don't think what is internal to our compass of finding our way will ever change. We will always have our north, pretty much our true north within us, to guide us to that place of our pursuit of that joy and that happiness, and bringing that to ourselves, because it doesn't only benefit us, it actually benefits everyone around us. So
yeah, we would say in our tradition that, we limit God if we only think that we can have purpose in certain ways. But I think that's great. Rob has a question. Sorry. Did you say you had a question?
No.
Oh, I thought he had a question. Sorry. And then the only other thing I was going to say is that I loved your suggestions, Christy. And I was thinking about the idea, Lectio Divina is in our tradition where you do the prayerful study of scripture, where you read it over. So you're meditating, you're studying and doing the intellectual thing, and you're also doing the spiritual thing, which I kind of like the idea of how we can combine some of those things in order to foster not so much that scripture talks about happiness, we said that earlier, but joy, that we can foster joy and closeness to God, or our creator, or whatever you believe.
Yeah, I'll say something about that. There's a lot, and gosh, I wish I could remember the particular study that was done on this, but Tal Ben-Shahar, who is the professor that speaks in the Happiness Studies Academy and started the Happiness Studies Academy, was talking about slow reading, and how 100 years ago, people would read a book and they would read that book again and again and again. And it was a normal thing. It's like, you have a book, you assume that like, the first time you read it, you'll get the gist of the book. But the second time you read it and the third time you read it, actually will give you more understanding and context to really reading into what the writer was trying to portray or offer. And so we used to be very used to the idea of reading books over and over and over and over again. And now this term speed reading is all over the place. It's like, oh, you should read these 50 books in 2 months or 2 weeks or whatever it is. And actually, it's like, who cares if you can read a bunch of books really fast? Are you really getting the context of the book? Are you really soaking in the meaning of the book? And do you really know anything, now that you've read the book? Do you know the book? So to read the book is one thing. To know the book takes a little more time to really dive into it and contemplate it and have it be part of your meditation. So I agree 100% that you really need to be able to take the time to go into the deeper layers of spiritual context and understanding, and especially when it comes to scriptures, to really get the messages and the meaning and the context. So a lot of the things that we have in front of us today in society are pushing us really hard to just sort of miss the nuggets. So yeah, I know we're coming up to 2 o'clock, and I really wanted to just do this quick meditation with you guys. And I know I'm going to be teaching more on meditation, which is really profound when we talk about mindfulness and how it relates to actually this same conversation. But I want you to just close your eyes for a moment and sit up nice and tall and just take a few really wonderful deep inhales and deep long exhales. And I want you to just gently bring a smile on your face. So just turning the corners of your mouth up, a gentle smile. And just notice how that changes the muscles on the face. And keep that smile. And as you start to breathe, continue to breathe, just allow that smile now to drop into your heart. So I want you to imagine that even your heart is smiling. And then move down into the diaphragm. And just as you breathe deep into the diaphragm, imagine the diaphragm is smiling. Your belly is smiling. And I want you to imagine even the cells moving around in your body, even if it appears as a cartoon somehow in your mind. Visualize some of your cells moving around your body, smiling. And then just take 2 more deep inhales and deep long exhales, releasing any tension on the exhales. And just slowly opening your eyes. It's such a simple meditation. It's something you can do in the morning. Just imagine your body smiling, and your body will actually respond to that. See, look at all these smiling faces. Thank you so much for having me today. I hope that was helpful for you. There's so much information out there. I couldn't possibly pack it all in, but I really wanted you guys to get just an opportunity to look at your own life and look at your week and look at how you want. Oh, that was the key. Sorry. I just want to say this. Wherever you have the lower scores, doesn't mean it's bad. It just means those are the areas that I would like for you to come up with a Kaizen, micro improvement that you could do in those particular areas. If it's kissing your wife, every day, if it's making the phone call to your brother, if it's jogging on the spot, if it's, eating an apple a day, whatever it is, um, try it. And then when I see you again, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Thank you, Christina. That was so great. Yay!
Thank you.
Wonderful. Really
I
wonderful.
just wanted to say to everybody that Christina will be back with us on October 16th. She will be talking to us about mindfulness and also leading us in a mindfulness meditation. And don't miss next Friday. We're going to have Chef Dulce talking to us about happy food, creating a happy mood. And we will have these self-care lunch and learns for a few Fridays coming up, and stay tuned to our bulletins and our e-blasts to you and everything else. We also have our re-employment seminar workshop series starting on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at 10 a.m. Don't miss that. Tell everybody who might need it. Tell everybody about this self-care lunch and learn. And Christina, thank you so much. We loved what you had to share with us today, and it was wonderful.
Thank you, Barb, too. Thank you. That was fabulous. That was really fabulous. And thank you to all our attendees. That was great.
Yay. Thank you. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.